Hi guys, and welcome back to another Fairy Tale Friday, and today's fairy tale that we are going to be talking about is Jack the Giant Killer from the Red Fairy Book. This week's fairy tale is the history of Jack the Giant Killer, and it starts off in medieval times, and it actually mentions it's when King Arthur is king at the moment. So there's this boy named Jack, and he has heard all the tales of King Arthur and his men and the Round Table, and he's very, very inspired by all of this, and so he decides to go out and kill a giant. So there's this giant that has been terrorizing the town. He lives in a forest. And so what Jack does is he goes into the forest and it says he dug a pit of 22 feet deep and 20 broad. And then he starts yelling. I think he starts trying to get the attention of the giant. The giant then says, "You saucy villain." And I just think that is such a funny phrase. You saucy villain. I had it underlined. Anyway, so he's like, "I'm gonna eat you. I'm gonna kill you." And he walks toward Jack, not understanding that there's a pit because Jack has covered it up to make it look like the ground. And he falls into the pit, and then Jack takes his axe and kills the giant. He does not stop there, though. So Jack is traveling a few years later, and he stops to rest in the middle of a forest. A giant sees him, decides, I'm going to take you. So he takes him to his castle, and it's said that the floor is full of dead bodies of men and women. Great. There's two giants in this one, and so what Jack does is he sees a rope in the corner of this room, and so he decides he's gonna test his luck, and he ties a slip knot at both ends, puts it around both of the giants, and strangles them to death until they are black in the face, and then he doesn't stop there. He proceeds to stab them both in the heart just to make sure he's done. Why are fairy tales so violent? Like, oh my gosh, very violent. Anyway, so Jack keeps on going, and he goes through this castle that he has been kind of imprisoned in with the giants, but the giants are gone now. So he goes in, and he's looking around, and he sees two women who are tied up and who are starving. And the reason they are starving is because they refused to eat the dead bodies of their husband. So the giant said that you can starve if you don't want to eat the dead bodies of your husband. Anyway, so he goes ahead and frees them, gives them the castle, gives them the riches, and keeps moving forward. He then comes across a little house and home of a giant, which is very interesting that he would go into. In my opinion, if he's killing all these giants, he doesn't like giants, why would he willingly be around a giant or sleep with a giant? I don't know. But anyway, he goes into this house, the giant welcomes him in, and is like, here you go, here's a bed, you can sleep in the bed. So Jack gets into the bed and is about to go to sleep when he hears the giant pacing in the other room, saying that he is going to club him to death once he falls asleep. So Jack hears this and is like, I'm gonna outsmart you because giants are very dull and dumb. And so he puts something in the bed that resembles him, and he kind of just hides in the corner. Around midnight, the giant comes in, clubs that thing to death, thinks Jack is dead, and then he goes to bed. Jack wakes up the next morning, goes out for breakfast, and the giant's like, how'd you sleep? Like, very surprised that Jack is awake. And Jack's like, oh, I think there was a rat that thrashed its tail on me. But after that, I went to bed. And so Jack decides to outwit this giant, and he decides to pretend he's much more than he is, I'll say. So what he does is he has like this like bag, and he's given like this big bowl of, porridge. And he decides to trick the giant that he ate a giant-sized bowl of oatmeal. So he does that, but he actually shoves it into this bag without the giant knowing. And then he gets up and says, "Hey, giant, guess what else I can do? I can also injure myself without, and then heal really quickly," or something along those lines. So what Jack does is he slits open the bag, and out falls all the breakfast. And the giant's like, how can he do this? Like, what magic is this? I wonder if I can do it. Takes the knife, stabs himself in the stomach, and dies. Now I know what to do when I'm entrapped by a giant, though. Like, this is good information to have. So after this, he is given basically a invisibility cloak, and it says he is furnished himself with a horse, a cap of knowledge, a sword of sharpness, and shoes of swiftness. So, and then also an invisible coat. So he's basically just gonna go around and kill all the giants. That's kind of his purpose in life. That's what he's set out to do. So he's traveling in the hills, and all of a sudden he sees a giant dragging across two people, a man and a woman, and Jack's like, no, this won't do, and is trying to kill him, and is slashing, and can't really hit him, and instead is kind of just like poking him in the legs. So Jack decides with all of his might to cut off the legs. He slashes off the giant's legs, and then the giant falls, and Jack gets up on a box and stabs him in the head or something. The giant falls. The man and the princess says, what can we do to repay you? He says, nothing, I gotta keep moving. So he keeps traveling, and he comes across this little village in a wood, and the old man says to him, Jack, there's a wizard and a giant who lives in this wood, who lives on this mountain, and he has taken the princess, and the princess has been turned into a deer. Can you please help them? So Jack is like, yeah, I will. So he walks in there, and guarding the castle, there's two griffins, I think. And so Jack decides he's gonna put on his cloak. They can't see him. He walks right in. Conveniently, when he gets to the door, there is a horn that says underneath it, whoever blows this horn, or whoever can blow this horn, this castle shall crumble, and the giant shall be overthrown. So to me, this is kind of, in my mind, this is kind of more of like an Arthur and the sword. Whoever can take the sword out of the rock, the stone, he's king. So in my mind, granted, I'm thinking logically, not everyone can blow this horn, or not everyone can blow this horn because they're probably dead before they get there. So whoever gets past everybody and gets to this thing, they deserve to blow it and win, basically. But so he blows it, a sound comes out, and the castle starts trembling. The wizard and the giant come out, and they are shaking with fear. Jack goes ahead and kills both of them, and as soon as he kills them, the maidens and mans all go back to what they were before they were enchanted. So all the animals turn back into humans, etc. And so because of this, Jack takes the head of the giant that he just slayed. He takes it to King Arthur, and King Arthur gives him his daughter, and he gets married, and everyone loves him. Yay! But yes, so that is the tale of Jack the Giant Killer. It's very violent, and I don't know what else to say. It wasn't my favorite story. It wasn't very interesting. it wasn't my favorite story I've read, but it is an interesting one at that. I keep thinking it's Jack and the Beanstalk, but obviously it's not. I think it's two very different people, but I think we will be reading Jack and the Beanstalk later on in this book that I have here of fairy tales from Barnes & Noble, if you would like to read along with me. So next week, we are finishing the Red Fairy book with the Red Etin. It's Etin. I have no idea what it's about, and I have never heard of it. But that will be the last book in the Red Fairy book, and then, wait, no. It's the Blue Fairy book we're reading right now, and then we'll go into the Red Fairy book. So, very exciting, but that is the next story if you would like to read along with me and kind of hear my thoughts on it. So, I will go ahead and go. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification because I am uploading about every single day on the week, and then on the weekends I take off, so make sure you don't miss any of those videos by clicking the bell notification icon because it doesn't actually give you a notification or even show up in your subscriptions if you don't click that bell. So I will go ahead and go, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. All right, bye.